To the casual observer, the Enlightenment may appear to have been a purely rational secular movement, concerned with the advancement of science, empirical evidence, and human reason. And while it is true that the period brought great advances in science and philosophy, it also gave rise to a paradoxical resurgence in occultism. Far from disappearing, occult currents were reshaped, hidden beneath the surface of intellectual discourse, and repackaged under new banners: Theosophy, Hermeticism, Rosicrucianism, and even Freemasonry. This was no accident. The same curiosity that led men to explore the laws of physics also led them to explore forbidden knowledge, what the Orthodox Church has always regarded as prelust or spiritual delusion, became to many Enlightenment thinkers the pursuit of hidden truths and esoteric wisdom. In the West, cut off from the fullness of Orthodox phronema, the theological vacuum left by the Reformation and the breakdown of scholastic authority created fertile ground for the esoteric to flourish. As St. Ignatius warned, when humility and obedience to God are lost, man becomes vulnerable to deception under the guise of enlightenment. The Enlightenment's dark undercurrent was marked by an obsession with secret societies and spiritual elitism. Freemasonry, while publicly portraying itself as a fraternity of moral uprightness, often included layers of esoteric symbolism and Gnostic underpinnings, incompatible with Orthodox Christianity. The rites, initiations, and hierarchical structures mirrored mystical cults of the ancient world. Alongside this, figures like Emanuel Swedenborg claimed visionary experiences and channeled communication with spirits, a blatant violation of Orthodox teachings in sobriety, noetic purity. Swedenborgianism would later influence New Thought and spiritualist movements that merged Christianity with metaphysical speculation, dragging the sacred into realms of fantasy. As Orthodox Christians, we must recognize that the Enlightenment, though not inherently evil in its pursuit of knowledge, opened channels for the old demonic heresies to re-emerge with fresh terminology. Where divine revelation was rejected, occult illumination rushed in to fill the void. The 19th century ushered in a tidal wave of esoteric revivalism, culminating in the rise of Theosophy, a movement that would become the backbone of modern occultism and New Age spirituality. Founded by Helena Blavatsky, Theosophy synthesized Eastern mysticism, Western esotericism, and spiritual evolution into a grand seductive narrative of cosmic self-deification. Blavatsky, who claimed to be guided by ascended masters, openly denied the divinity of Christ as understood by the Orthodox Church. She instead placed Jesus among a pantheon of spiritual avatars, reducing him to a spiritually evolved initiate, a blasphemous distortion of the gospel. Her seminal works, The Secret Doctrine and Isis Unveiled, reinterpreted Christian, Hindu, and Buddhist cosmology into a framework compatible with reincarnation, karma, and occult evolution. What made Theosophy so dangerous was its ability to address ancient Gnostic heresies in modern languages. It rejected the concept of sin, repentance, and salvation through the cross in favor of self-realization and esoteric ascent. In place of the Church and her mysteries, Theosophy offered initiation, hidden knowledge, and the promise of inner divinity. Orthodox Christianity has always taught that man becomes truly human not by turning inward to discover a latent godhood, but by dying to the self and uniting with Christ through the ascetic path. Theosis is a gift of grace, not a product of secret knowledge or meditative technique. Theosophy's emphasis on universal religion also laid the groundwork for perennialism and interfaith syncretism. In this worldview, all religions are seen as veiled expressions of a single truth, an idea utterly incompatible with the exclusivity of Christ proclaimed by the Orthodox Church. As Saint Cyprian of Carthage wrote, "Outside the Church there is no salvation, not because triumphalism, but because Christ cannot be divided." By the early 20th century, Theosophy had birthed numerous offshoots, including Anthroposophy, New Thought, and elements of the New Age movement. These ideologies would continue to draw countless souls away from the Church by appealing to pride, curiosity, and a desire for spiritual autonomy. Today, its echoes are found in everything from yoga studios to self-help literature, testifying that the religion of the self is alive and well. As Orthodox Christians, we must discern the spirit of these teachings, remembering the words of the Apostle, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God." As the 19th century progressed, occultism transformed again, this time veiled in the cloak of scientific curiosity and psychological inquiry. Whereas earlier generations dabbled into alchemy and Hermetic rites, now a new fascination emerged: communication with the dead. This movement, known as Spiritism, began to take hold across Europe and the Americas, appealing to those disillusioned with both traditional religion and materialist science. In 1848, the infamous Fox sisters of Hydesville, New York, claimed they could hear rapping noises from a spirit haunting their home. These supposed communications from the dead captivated public imagination. Though the sisters later admitted the deception, the movement had already spread like wildfire. Seances, table turning, and mediums became cultural phenomena. This explosion in interest in contacting the dead coincided with dramatic advances in technology and science. Telegraphy and photography opened new avenues for exploring the unseen, and many began to speculate that spiritual forces might be subject to scientific discovery. The line between theology and pseudoscience blurred. In this context, mediums and clairvoyants were not seen as charlatans, but pioneers into the mysteries of consciousness and the afterlife. Orthodox Christianity stands firmly opposed to all forms of necromancy, divination, and conjuration of spirits. The scriptures speak clearly: "There shall not be found among you a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord." From the Orthodox perspective, these spirits are not the departed souls of the righteous, but deceitful demons, masquerading as such, luring humanity into destruction. St. John Chrysostom warns, "When you hear that someone is speaking with the dead, know that it is the demons imitating the dead, for the soul has departed and is with God or in Hades, and it cannot return." The early church always treated such phenomena not as scientific anomalies, but as demonic deceptions, subtle, dangerous lies, cloaked in sentimentality and scientific novelty. By the turn of the 20th century, the embers of Renaissance occultism were rekindled in the flamboyant figure of one Aleister Crowley. Born in 1875 into a strict Plymouth Brethren household, Crowley rebelled against his Christian upbringing, embarking on a path that would lead him to become one of the most notorious occultists in modern history. Styling himself as the Great Beast 666, Crowley synthesized strands of ceremonial magic, Eastern mysticism, and self-deification into a new esoteric system called della. Crowley's philosophy was summed up in his infamous dictum, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will." At first glance, this appears to champion personal freedom and love, but in context, it signaled a radical shift from any external moral law to the primacy of the individual will. In Thelemic doctrine, one's true will is a sort of divine destiny, yet paradoxically, it often excuses hedonism, egoism, and spiritual pride under the guise of self-actualization. Heavily influenced by Hermeticism, Gnosticism, and even Eastern religions like Tantra, Crowley's teachings found structure through texts like the Book of the Law, which he claimed was dictated to him in 1904 by a spirit named Iowas. Ritual magic was a central component of his practice, drawing from older grimoires, Egyptian deities, Kabbalah, and even Christian symbols, though inverted or perverted. In this, Crowley was not simply reviving medieval sorcery, he was updating it, branding it, and eventually influencing generations of occultists, artists, musicians, and writers. Despite his outward rejection of Christianity, Crowley's obsession with the Christian framework was unmistakable. His writings often blasphemed Christ, and yet mirrored him in a distorted parody. Where Christ taught obedience to the will of the Father, even unto death on the cross, Crowley proclaimed obedience to the self. even at the expense of others. The cross, a symbol of kenotic love, became in Crowley's system a rejected instrument of oppression. This fundamental divergence reflects a broader theological contrast between Orthodox Christianity's theanthropic anthropology and Crowley's occult anthropology. In Orthodox theology, the human person is made in the image and likeness of God, called to union with Him through humility, repentance, and communion. Salvation is synergistic in this way, requiring grace and the willing cooperation of the person with God. In Thelema, however, salvation is irrelevant. There is no sin, only restriction. The self is not called to die, but to reign. This pseudo-mysticism stands in direct opposition to the Orthodox understanding of the spiritual life. As St. Maximus the Confessor writes, "He who loves God cannot help but love his neighbor." Crowley's doctrines, by contrast, fracture communion. His magical system turns the soul inward, encouraging the practitioner to see themselves as God, rather than beholding the uncreated light of the true God through ascetic struggle and prayer. The influence of Crowley can be seen throughout modern popular culture. From rock stars like Jimmy Page and David Bowie to modern occultists and New Age influencers, his shadow lingers. The slogans of Thelema, liberty, will, and esoteric power, resonate in a world increasingly disenchanted with external authority. Crowley's writings are still in print, his rituals are still performed, his image still venerated in counterculture circles. And yet, the legacy he left behind is not one of freedom, but of fragmentation. The man who preached liberation was plagued by addiction, alienation, and spiritual darkness. His disciples often fared no better. His version of magic, while clothed in exotic mystery, produced no lasting peace, only spiritual instability. In the light of Orthodox Christianity, Crowley's gospel is a false one. Where Christ calls us to take up our cross, Crowley entices us to enthrone ourselves. Where the Church teaches that true freedom is found in obedience to God, Crowley's Thelema declares obedience to self-desire. But the truth, Christ tells us, will set us free. The rise of Thelema and ritual magic in the 20th century wasn't an isolated event. It was a harbinger. The groundwork had been laid for something even broader, more diffuse, and more insidious. Not a religion, but a spirituality without dogma. Not magic in robes and incantations, but in crystals, chakras, and visualization. We now stand at the thresholds of a new occult paradigm, one that cloaks itself in light, but leads souls into darkness. The next stage is not Aleister Crowley's world, but something even more elusive and seductive, the world of the New Age.